Let's see, participants. Welcome, guys. You guys are all coming in the room right now. And as always, we are waiting for y'all to get in here before we get started. So whatever you need to do right now, if you need to get a drink really quick, we're going to start fat soon. You need some water, go ahead and do that now. I love that we got a lot of the same names coming back over and over. You guys are really taking this serious. You're learning a lot, getting a lot of value. It's just awesome to have you guys here. And I see my sister's in there. How you doing? I'm assuming that's my sister. Hey, sis. Love you, sis. Okay. I am there from day one. So that's awesome, man. That's why your life's going to change. You know, it's that consistent 1% change a day leads to a massive quantum leap, and your whole life becomes unrecognizable in it within a short period of time because of it. Hey, David. Hey, Guy. How you doing? I'm gonna go ahead and read this question because it's an interesting one. Why we're waiting for everybody to come in as more people come in. We're at 54 participants and 8 panelists, and I'll read this question, and after that we'll get started. Tommy wrote it. Hi guys, can I get your advice on something? I told a girl today that she was beautiful in a very non-attached way, and she said she can do anything she. I said basically he said she can do anything she wants with the information, but I just wanted to let her know this. That I find her beautiful. At the end of it, she was genuinely happy that I told her, but she said she was gay. Is she being truthful? I can't tell you if she's being truthful. She might very well have been gay. There are very much gay women in the world, and they might still be receptive to a nice compliment if they were. As you get better and better at seeing the level of connection, lean in, pull back, shifts, you'll start to get a better vibe for that stuff. But without seeing all the subtle 1% communication that's going on, it's hard for me to tell you whether I think she was being truthful or not. And that could still be wrong potentially, depending on what's going on that day. She might have a girlfriend at that time, but she's not totally gay. She might be bisexual, but she's experimenting with girls. She might be totally gay. She may be just saying that to be nice because she thinks you're sweet and she really enjoyed your compliment, but she's not single right now, or she's not open, or she doesn't want to date, or she's not attracted to you for whatever reason. And she might be pulling back because you weren't totally non-attached. There's a little bit of attachment. That's why you had to say that part. You can do anything you want with the information. And I'm not saying that was good or bad. That's fine for now. And you just felt less attached than normal. So all of these potentialities are in there. And as you get more, it's like if you do an experiment, you don't just do it once, you do it a bunch of times and you learn from it. And that's the key. Get out there, and before you say, after you've done 10, 20 compliments and practice being non-attached, you're going to notice a big difference from this one to the one that's 20th from now, because you'll probably get more and more and more free and open and giving with your heart. That's the key. As you get more non-attached, you want to give more and be more open and giving of good emotions. So that's my short answer. Let's move on. It's 11:02. The room's still growing, but as I said before, the room tends to grow till about 15 minutes after the hour. There's always the people that are habitually a little bit late, and there's the people that are always habitually on time, and we tend to follow patterns, guys. That's the way it goes until we break our patterns. Remember the terror barrier, you got to bust through and create a whole new reality. So today, we're going to be talking with Cairo. Going to do a little interview conversation with Cairo, and for those of you who don't know Cairo, he does a lot of internet marketing for us now, but we hired him, but he was originally a client. And let me pull you up, buddy. Let me pin you to the screen. He was originally a client. That was about, how long ago was that, Cairo? About 3 years ago?
No, 4 years ago, actually.
So he,
Yeah, became a client 5 years ago, and then it was about a year since I met you guys. We were working together for like about a year.
yeah. So you started with us about 4 years ago, worked together for you, and you've been our internet marketer ever since. And you're in a great relationship now. You guys are actually thinking about moving to Amsterdam together. There's all kinds of amazing stuff happening with you too. You got your little pit bull family,
Yeah,
and
big
but
book cat family.
pit bulls and cats. There's a combo right there. Uh, and but Cairo is pretty amazing guy, and that he's self-made. He's worked really hard to build his own business, and he's done a lot of work with improving that since working with us. He's worked really hard at building a great relationship, and he worked really hard at getting good at dating when he worked with us too. And he was always the guy with a lot of talent, but too scared to take risks, so he just wouldn't go for it. He'd always quit too early, stop too early. Just there was like, what's the point? There was a lot of, we talked about apathy yesterday. He had a lot of apathy going on, from what I remember. But he went from that to a guy who wouldn't quit, was ballsy as fuck, to the other side of that polarity, and he pulled off something. And we're going to talk about this later. I'm not going to say what it is, but he pulled off something in Fearless, actually, a sexual a moment on during a workshop that I'm not going to say what it was. We'll let him tell you later whenever he's ready. That I don't know if he'll ever be topped. Maybe I invite one of you to do it. But it was pretty amazing, and it all came from his unwillingness to quit that day. He wouldn't quit. He stayed in there, and it changed. I think that was the pivotal point that changed your whole reality, right? With quitting.
Yeah, I mean, that experience came at the end of a 90-day period, right? Because we're kind of getting ready for the week long in Bucharest, but the whole 90 days, because back then we had the 3-month program, but I was not getting any kind of results. And I think it just eventually I surrendered the whole thing. And so I just always getting stuck in my head, trying to think about logically and just let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, just this whole thing happened. So, but yeah, just when I got out of my own way, just all these amazing results started showing up in a big way.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say, if we look at the terror barrier in that line, when you cross that line to the end zone, it seems like you're not getting results because you're pushing, working hard, and you won't let go, surrender with the ego. And then when you cross that line, there's this massive amount of results. So it's not that you're not getting results; it's that your resistance is pushing the results away because you're fighting your own stories, and that's a good thing because that's the stories coming up to be weeded. And then when you finally pull those stories, there's usually massive results on the other side, and
yeah,
basically what we saw in your life. So let's hear your story, man. Let's dive in, and then we'll finish with this story. We alluded to it. We're going to come back to it later, guys. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And let's start with your story. What got you to Fearless? What was your dating life like? Whatever aspect you want to tell us that you think really fits to help these guys build their confidence, their self-esteem. What was your life like in that
area? Yeah, I really didn't start working on my dating. I mean, I've always had girlfriends, but there was just always this part that I was just never satisfied. And I think, and you've always said it's just, sometimes when you kind of go for just women that kind of feel safe around, you're not really pushing yourself into that tension. So yeah, I didn't really start focusing on dating until I was about 28, 29. And interestingly enough, that was the same time I had a career change. I used to be a scientist. I went to school for Penn State. I was a scientist. And in the crash of 2008 is when I decided I don't want to do this anymore. I want to travel. I want to go do things. But all I kept hearing from people is like, you're thinking like a 60-year-old, you gotta, keep your job, save your money. When you're 50, you'll be making $250,000 so you can go travel. And I just didn't want to hear any of that. And weird enough, and it created a lot of tension between my dad and I, that I quit my science job from a lab. And then I took a job in New York to be an apprentice to a CEO, taking a 60% pay cut. It kind of started everything there, because now I went from like New Jersey, kind of really sheltered, and then I'm around all these amazing things going on, a lot of amazing women. So at the same time, yeah, I was working on a career change to becoming an internet marketer, and also started working on my dating. But yeah, it was one of those difficult things because I would find coaches who were cheap because I went from I took a 60% pay cut. I could not afford coaching at all. And they would have me doing these stupid little exercises where like super aggressive. And women would always like scream in my face because of how aggressive I would come up. So and then I started creating a lot of fear around even approaching women just from that because the guy wouldn't really teach me how to be. The way you teach it, just be soft, open your heart, go engage with her. And then yeah, so I would try different coaches and I just wouldn't get anywhere. But then slowly I started backing off.
That's
What's
a
that?
really important point because there's a lot of coaches out there that are coaches primarily because they think they can make a living and they make some money. They don't love the work. They don't look at the subtleties. They don't look at what really causes change. They don't, and how many years it takes to understand those subtleties. I mean, it was a lifetime of study for me to really understand that stuff. And so some people think just be as bold as humanly possible and you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
And that can be a disaster for some people.
Yeah, and that was a trend. I mean, year after year after year. Like back in the day, that was when what's that guy named who wrote the book The Game? Neil
Neil Strauss.
Strauss. Yeah, so even reading his books, I just wouldn't get that success. And like you said, it was really I had the talent, but I've always had this barrier that I didn't see myself going past, and that's why I always stopped. Just I would feel the tension coming on, and in the back of my mind, I'm just sort of like, I can't handle this, I can't handle this. And at one point, I kind of figured out what it
Into
was.
that tension. Like you feel it, like all these guys out here, you feel the tension and then you think it's the truth of what is. Like, this is my gut instincts telling me not to go this way. And since
Yeah,
you don't really understand how gut instincts work, you're buying into your fears and calling them gut instincts. So
exactly. So and that just tend to be the whole thing of just going in and in and in it. By the time I met you guys, I'd already spent about 20 grand in dating. So
all
and the
these
way I found it.
all these cheap coaches added up.
Well, it was from 2008 until 2014 when I first heard about you guys. 2014, 2015. It adds up. Yeah, it adds up a lot. So, and the way I found out about you was Andy from Day he interviewed you, and the stuff you were talking about. Holy shit! Like, yeah, I've never heard anyone talking about this stuff like this. But again, there was no way to practice that information you gave because I just didn't really understand. I know it was amazing what I heard, but I just didn't know how to implement it to my life. And then about another year afterwards, I run into you and Dave at Rowan's event. I knew Rowan through another friend who invited me to that event, and I was like, "Holy shit, I know these guys." And that's when the one in New York, yeah, is when I first met you guys after you.
I didn't realize you were in the audience. That's awesome.
Yeah, I was there. I think the model work with Rowan. Yeah, I knew Rowan from another friend of mine. And that's when I signed up for like the first experience to come see you guys in DC. And that time I was already traveling, so that's why it wasn't really easy for me to come back to the States. But Dave was like, "We're gonna be in DC, so just fly over from DR." And I came over. And that's the first time. And I remember when we were doing that first workshop, just how I think my group, you were like, "This is the most apathetic group I've ever had ever in my life." It was like me and 4 other guys. Jason, my friend, was there. So, but we were so heavy. Because I think what you were showing us was like, holy cow, I've just never seen myself this. And then seeing yourself on camera, I think just kind of blew my mind away. I could just remember kind of going through everything. And I'm like, okay, now I get what everybody's always saying. This is how I show up.
Yeah. Crazy.
And that's kind of, yeah.
And for guys to understand, when you see yourself on camera, it's not about analyzing what you're doing wrong. It's about feeling the emotions that you're giving off and what are you causing other people to feel emotionally, and emotionally equals vibration. So whatever you're giving off, and he was giving off a lot of apathetic, heavy emotions. So of course he's either going to draw apathetic women, or really light, fun women are going to want to run away. So go for it.
Yeah, the apathy too. I think what came out of that workshop was just a lot of loneliness and a lot of sadness. Just really having to process all that stuff. So, yeah. But again, that time just and again, I had done a lot of work, but nobody had really given me a process to really just be able to tap into that, or even figure out like, why am I always feeling tired or sleepy when I kind of go into these places? And that's when you explain, this is what apathy is. That's where you're stuck. I can see the loneliness, and even the guys in the group are like, yeah, we see a lot of sadness in you. So, and after that workshop, I was like, wow, I do have a lot to kind of really just sit back and process. But that workshop only triggered more shit. So I
Mhm.
did have really good successes that time. Like I went back to New York home for a little bit. Um, I feel like I elevated my just kind of being able to go for it, and I was doing really really well. Like I would go to speed dating and end up kind of having like dates lined up. At that point, I started getting more aggressive, becoming more sexual. I would tell a girl like, "I want to take you home," and she'd be sitting there looking at me like, "Why?" I'm like, "Well, I just want to ride with you." But she'd sit there and look at me. But instead of me running away, I'd just stand there and just kind of look at her. And I remember this one girl, I told her like, "Listen, I don't need to sleep with you, but I just told you what I want." And then immediately she's like, "Okay, let's go." So this kind of little thing started happening.
I love it. I'm getting all these stories I've never heard. And you guys have so many stories I never hear, and then I hear them later, and it just lights me up. So go for it.
Yeah, so it was really good. Yeah. So it was success after success. And then Dave and I had spoken about coming back and doing more work so I could really just kind of dive deep into really getting all this apathy out of the way. Um, and I was like, I'm fine, man. I'm having success. Like, what do I need to do this? And I go back to DR, and this one girl that I really liked, but I just, for the sake of it, couldn't fucking find a way through it. I just started deciding to kind of let go on it. And I started taking some of the releasing stuff you taught me and combined it with the presence process. I think I told you about it. It's about a 12-week program, meditation, just breathing and doing like a meditation. And the same thing you say, don't try to get something out of the releasing at the beginning. I think you told me like, no, just do this for like the next 12 weeks. And I
Yeah.
didn't get anything where you're saying,
I give that assignment to a lot of apathetic people because or people that are low on the emotional scale because they get into wanting so fast, trying to figure stuff out, and then crash back to apathy and cycle. So that's probably why I gave that to you. I give everybody different bits of advice based on where their energy's at.
yeah. Because I wasn't really getting anything when I did that. As like, but you said there was successes, but I just wasn't feeling it because I was now used to feeling.
Very
The only thing I would feel was a numbness and heaviness. But around week 8 is when I had the biggest breakthrough. It was a panic attack. Is when I really started like, holy shit, like, all this stuff just came out. And that's when I was kind of like, I need to go back and work with these guys.
Grief and fear, like a lot of opening of all these emotions, and then the panic attack ensued. So you came out of apathy.
Yeah.
And fear. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and even now I'm still processing that. It's even now I find like when I'm in apathy or it's grief. There's a fear, grief, anxiety there, and some sadness. And every time I kind of like release on them, apathy is always behind it. And like I've learned how to be able to do that. Sometimes I'll be writing. I found this exercise where every morning I would just do it's a morning pages, right? Write for 3 pages nonstop. And like I just wake up, I'm fresh and I write, but I always fall asleep, and that's when I'm like, fuck, like this apathy is still here. But instead of running away from it, I'll do the tendency, like, okay, go for a walk and just release some tendencies, and I come back and I'm feeling good. But then when I come back home, like my whole groin and belly is on fire.
Yeah.
And it's not turn on. The turn on is there, but it's also confusion, this fear. And I'm like, okay, I can't work like this. So now I have to sit down again and kind of release on it. So there's always all this below and below and below all the time. And, so it's
really,
kind of like
I wanted to say that type of energy, when you feel that confusion and it's like a heating, right? What's going on down there. And then it doesn't have, that's energy turning back on. Like imagine you got a kink in the hose, and now we've turned up the water pressure and starting to unkink, but it hasn't fully unkinked. So you're not back in flow yet. That's why you're in confusion. It's literally, that's a great time to sit with that and practice observing and watching until that kind of settles down, because you almost don't want it to settle down. You want it to integrate. In other words, the dam just broke and the water was raging. It's confusion and crazy. Then there's going to be a period where the water is going to finally settle, but it's not that it's going to be weaker. It's that now it's in a nice, perfect flow. Okay. That's the best way I can describe it. So keep going there, but sorry about that.
No worries. Yeah. What was that?
I just want to input. When I hear these, I'm like, these are really, I want you to understand what's going on. And I want these guys to understand what's going on. I have a screen over here with you guys on it. So I want these guys to understand what's going on too. So these are like little gold nuggets you're giving me right now. So.
Yeah, I think again at that time, because you hadn't really started teaching releasing, and that's why I was just confused as fuck. And I remember it was December. You guys had both told me like you need to come to a 3-month program and the week long. But then after that, because I just realized like I have no idea. Nobody else is talking about this thing's the way you both of you are talking about it. And I called Dave and I'm like, listen, I'm coming to LA. And James, right, Brexit, we call him his nickname, convinced me to move from DR to LA and just sit here, stay here, and just kind of work through this next, 4 months with the program to really get the best benefits out of it. So I was like, fine, we do it. And I move in. I think after the first week in January, my life shifted all of a sudden all over again. I had just moved to Santa Monica. I had just spent, I had paid 6 months of rent in Santa Monica, which is not cheap rent. And I get fired from the job that I had. So, and I think this kind of put me back into apathy. And I remember coming to you, kind of crying and complaining. I'm like, fuck, I just got fired, And the thing you said to me was like, dude, you're so talented, but you're the most laziest person I've ever seen when it comes to your talent. I'm like, okay. So I go back home and I'm still trying to figure out how am I going to pay rent. I mean, rent I was fine for 6 months, but I just moved to California. I just lost my job. It was a pretty good good job, paying me a lot of money. But I wasn't saving that time. And Bucharest was coming up pretty quickly. And I remember going to Dave and I'm like, dude, I don't think I can go to Bucharest. And he's like, why? It's just, I don't have a job. And he's like, no, just figure a way out. Everything else will take care of itself. And at this point in my life, I hadn't really taken the whole idea of like, just surrender to the moment and just let life take care of you, Cairo. So I do remember spending my last $1,000 on that plane ticket to go to Bucharest right before we jumped on. But then I got a few more, a bit more money came in. So, but then I ended up spending that money when we got to Bucharest. It was Therme, right? We went for a whole day spa, ended up spending all of it. So again, I had no money, but James came through, gave me more money that I had for that whole week. So I think that was like the beginning of me just kind of started realizing, just surrender and just kind of let life surprise you by how things will show up for you without having to think that you have to figure it out by yourself.
Yeah, you got to look at your life as a whole, and it's something I would learn from David Nagel, and I found it so far to be super true, and he learned it from Bob Proctor, was that if your life, you've always gotten what you needed when you needed it. It's the way he put it. Bob Proctor said that to him. Bob said to him one time, he said, well, he said, well, I'm almost out of money and I feel like I'm supposed to take this program. I'm supposed to do this thing that's going to change my life, but I'm not going to have any money left. And Bob said, so do it. And he went, what do you mean do it? I need to be responsible. He goes, you've always gotten what you needed when you needed it, right? And he goes, yeah. And he goes, that's a pattern that's been 100% through your whole life. Yeah. And why would that change? There are some people that literally don't get what they need when they needed it. They when they start to grow, they hurt themselves and they do bad things. You're not one of those people. Your pattern is this. You'll be fine. And he said he went home and he went through his whole life and memory by memory, and he said, I have always gotten what I needed when I needed it. There's no instance of not having at least enough to get by. And that was very encouraging to him. Didn't mean he wasn't in debt. Didn't mean he didn't have struggles. Didn't mean he, but that's kind of where his whole life had been, is in debt and struggles anyways. So he had to make a change to have a different life. Now he's a multimillionaire many times over. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, the move here was probably one of the most challenging things that I ever had, again, like I said. But it was also kind of a blessing because I literally had about 3 months where I couldn't hide behind work. And now I could just focus on my dating life. So, and I just started hanging out with James and Mike. Everybody knows Mike, Coach Mike. So, and within that little nice 90-day window, the results kind of started showing up. So we're going through the 90-day preparation, the work we're doing at the bungalow, doing the 3 highs every day that we had to do. But you also had me doing certain exercises that would just freak me the shit out, right? You'd be like, I want you to go to the bungalow and walk in right away. And I want you to say hi to the first tournament where you see nonstop. And I would walk in, I would just sit there and not do anything for like an hour, trying to just get courage. But James would be like, James was really good about snapping me out of my mind. He would come up to me and say stupid shit that would just embarrass me and then kind of get me going. Like one time he saw me struggling, he just came up to me and he's like, George, do you want to have sex tonight? And the girls around us are hearing this and they're laughing. And initially I felt embarrassment, but he would do things like that for me. And I think that was a great thing about having someone else that would kind of snap you out of that analytical mind. And then after that, I'd be fine. So, and that was really good having him there because he would do all these little things to kind of help me snap out of it. And I would do the same thing for him, just kind of holding each other accountable. But it was literally day after day of doing this and feeling like it's no success. But what helped a lot was that I would have the wins journal every night, just listing who did I talk to, where did it go to. And the more I did this, the momentum would pick up. And then I had a one night, like the first night I really, really felt like, holy shit, I can do this. Like the first time I really felt like I started seeing that I'm really, really holding myself back was that one girl with the bodysuit. Um, the one like me and Mike were kind of fighting over.
That night, I remember her very well. And what you said
Yeah.
earlier, you guys might have misheard, is the wins journal. This is a journal where you write down all your wins every night, all your accomplishments, and every day you keep doing it. Instead of focusing on what was wrong, you start training yourself on all the, even if it's a 1% improvement. So go for it.
Yeah. And that night, what was that?
The girl in the bodysuit. Let's hear about her.
Yeah, the girl in the white bodysuit. And like every guy was trying to talk to her that night. And Mike and I kind of made a fight out of it. Just whoever talks to her first. And I remember she was hanging out with this guy in the beginning. And whatever happened, like that is like huge fight. Just kind of walks off. And I go talk to her. But that night was it was the most fun, but also the most frustrating because I had never been tested that much before in my life by a woman because I think, she just kind of knew like guys were coming after her left and right. And I remember I would go talk to her, I would try to do something, and I would come back to you and tell you what's going on. I'm like, no, go back. I'd go back and I'd pull her and then we'd be talking more and I'd, kind of take her around the bar. But she had this habit of like, every time she walked across a guy she liked, she would do this to them and start flirting with them. Like while I'm still holding her hand. And I'm like, fuck. And I'll let her hand go and I'll come back to you. And I'm like, this is what the fuck she's doing. Like I give up. I'm like, no, go back, go grab her hand and just pull her away. And I'd go back and I'd pull her and then she'd follow me. But she kept doing this testing over and over again. And the funny thing, she had like this huge butterfly tattoo right here, like between her breasts. And if she caught me looking, she'd be like, really? But I just learned like, listen, just enjoy it. I'm like, well, you have it right there. So I'm going to look at it. And she'd just crack off laughing. So the whole night went like this, was just kind of like testing the shit out of me. And she was there with her brother. Her brother was gay, causing, trouble in the bar, in the bungalow as well. I remember we were dancing in the bungalow and she would slap other women's asses and then the other women would start yelling at me. But the brother would come and get me out of trouble. She's like, no, she did it. He's fine. But I think he was kind of having fun with me as well. But yeah. So that night, I think I had to go back to her 11 times because you were like, no, go back, go back, go back, go back. And you didn't tell me what to do, just like go back and get her. And eventually I was able to kind of just isolate her and kind of bring her over. But something interesting happened. So Dave and Jameson came over and then I got triggered by both of them. And I came back to you, goes to kind of cry and you're like, no, go back and get her and pull her out of there, And Dave was like, no.
Say it again. So Dave and Jameson come over and they start talking to this girl and she's talking to them and then you walk away and then you come to me and then what did I say again? I want them to hear this clearly.
No, yeah, they were like, no, they can't, go back and just grab her hand and pull her away. And I'm like, I can do that. Like, yeah, just go. And I went back. So you just have me do these things, kind of helping me push past that barrier that I always stop myself. And I think I was just kind of like, oh, fuck, like I keep doing this. And the whole night was just this thing. And then at the end of the night, I got to this place where everybody at the bar started asking me, like, who the fuck are you? Like, I think just because I just started getting into a nice place with flow. I was just that much more confident of myself.
You stopped being you were so stoppable before. Everything would stop you. And after that many, that was life giving you this beautiful woman that put wall after wall and you had to punch through it 10, 11 times. And pretty soon you stopped giving a fuck. And you're like, oh, yeah. She likes you. And I could see it. And I knew she enjoyed challenging your confidence and seeing what you would do. And every time you came back, she liked you more. It was awesome.
Yeah. So I think that was the beginning of kind of really started realizing what Dave and Brian had been teaching all along. So, and it started sinking in directly. So, and funny enough, that was towards the 3-month program before we started going to Bucharest. And yeah, that was really when I started seeing like, fuck, I should do this shit. No one, I always have this thing where I'm still processing because I grew up in Kenya where, I grew up in a system where you got punished for failing. So I have this weird relationship with failing. And just after working with you and Dave, I was able to just process all that muck out of the way. You know, and I remember just kind of like even talking to her. Like it didn't go anywhere after that because she was so drunk at the end of the night because guys kept buying her drinks. She was so wasted, but you know, went had pizza with her and everything like that.
Yeah,
And
you pulled her out of the bar and you took her to a restaurant, but she
mhm.
was drunk, yeah. And
Yeah, and I was kind of happy, yeah, just having dinner with her and her brother and so forth. But yeah, they ended up going. But I think just that experience alone for me was enough to really see that I do have what it takes to kind of be able to kind of have these interactions and have fun, you know, and really attractive women at the same time.
so I want to
So
say that think of each time she tested you where you would normally stop and you were done. Like every time, like you said, there was about 11 of them or so. You counted them up or something. And every time she'd reject you, you'd walk away. That was a terror barrier you normally wouldn't cross, and you'd walk away. And then so you go back and boom. Remember how there was a picture on that one video where I did a ladder of
yeah,
terror? Each one of those was a ladder. So there was like 11 terror barriers in a sense that you went through. And that's
exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
just real reality.
Yeah. And it was just the whole idea of like going back and dealing with the embarrassment, people seeing you and walking away. But I mean, yeah, and I think that now that I think about it, I laugh about it. But you know, it was really when I really started seeing that, you know, it's actually fun. Just enjoy it, you
Yeah.
know. And I wasn't thinking, I wasn't trying to make a process out of it or do this, do that. It's just go back, be there, and just take her in and just kind of have fun with her. So yeah, and after that night, I think just the the confidence kept showing up, and I would go salsa up to that point, and I used to go to salsa to kind of just like trying to impress people. I started finding myself enjoying salsa, and I'd turn around and find a woman looking at me. And because I was enjoying myself so much dancing salsa, she was smiling and having fun. So, and I think just, yeah, kind of kept going and going on and going on. Just having a lot of breakthroughs because I'll just get out of my own way. I'd surrender to the moment, get out of my own way, not trying to think about the whole process. And all these little successes just showing up in a big way. So, yeah, hold on, someone's coming in. Okay. This is morale. Video.
They don't need to see me.
But anyway, yeah, so you can go ahead. Sorry, morale is in the house.
Okay. Yeah. You keep going. You were telling us a story. You were talking.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me see if she needs.
Okay. So yeah, those terror barriers are huge, guys. And he's every time he busts through those terror barriers, one after another, he's actually changing his reality. The one thing I wanted to comment on, he's still got this big thing that hasn't happened yet, and this is a big part of why this story, towards the end of his story here, is going to be so powerful. To see how it all builds up to a bigger version of himself. So let's get you ready to get going.
Yeah, I'm good to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so after that weekend, I think, we were kind of ready to go to Bucharest at that point, the week long. So, and the week long itself was just like another whole ball buster. And I think my stories were getting tested really, really, really hard at that point. Just a lot of my beliefs. And I have this thing just around the color of my skin. Like I would go there, the cops would pull me over and I would let it just kind of give me a huge bind here and there. And then you'd have me kind of release out of it and just kind of tell me to just be open to it. And then funny enough, I started having other weird kind of experiences that came to my color of my skin. Would go to the club and guys would come up to me, like older men. It's just like, I think that it's like they've never seen a black guy before, but they'll come grab me. I'm like, oh my God, you look like we're so different. You know, you're amazing. I'm glad you're here, my brother. I'm like, oh my God. And then you'd introduce me to all their friends and they're having fun with it. And that was a very, very weird experience for me, kind of going through this thing. And it would happen every day at a restaurant or walking by. Every time I went to a club, there was always an older guy pulling me aside. I'm like, oh my God, you must be so proud. And then they kind of like comparing their skin to mine. And I'm like, okay, this is very new. I've never had this before. And I think that started giving me a very whole different experience about that, you know, just not getting caught up in the story of the color of my skin. And the story just kept going on and going on. I think I told you the story of those two girls I was talking to one time. One of them, she comes up, she's like, "What's up, my nigga?" And her friend turns around and slaps her. She's like, "You can't say that." So it was just literally experience after experience after experience. Just really my reality just kind of getting blown in so many ways. And I think like the first halfway through the week, I just wasn't getting any kind of success. Until I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, we're out. It's like 2 a.m. and we're walking back to finish the night. And we're supposed to be doing like, a minimum number of highs every day. So I was like, fuck it, let me finish my highs for today. I'm ready to go back home and sleep. And I see this girl standing out of the club, and I go sit down and talk to her. And I just wanted to go home. But part of me was sitting there and I'm like, fuck, I know Davey's watching me right now. So let me just fucking stay here because I don't want to deal with him telling me to come back here and finish the conversation because I pulled out early. Because that was my MO, right? I would go have interactions, and I would always, like you said, I would get to that terror barrier and I would walk away instead of just like sitting through and kind of going through. So I sat there, never looking back, thinking like, Davey's looking at me, kind of watching the interaction. And I kept going and I kept going and I kept going. Next thing I know, we're flirting and, just trying to pull her back home. She's like, no, I can't go home. It's my friend's birthday. We're all here celebrating, so we have to stay here. And about 40 minutes later, her friends come over, this cute redhead. And we started all talking. And literally within 10 minutes, I was making out with both of them. It was just really, again, like another very weird coincidence. But I didn't overthink it. I was just like, relax, just stay there. So from 2 a.m. to about 7 a.m., it was me just trying to ground out these girls the whole night. I would try to kind of like, say that again?
How many were there?
It started with 1, then it went to 2. And then when I would go inside to party with them, at one point I was sitting down and I was getting like a lap dance from like 10 girls. And the bouncer was just like the whole time like this, just looking at me. So everybody in the club had gone home. They were the only ones left there, and me and some other guys who were trying to buy them drinks. I didn't buy them a single drink. They would go get drinks from the other guys and bring them to me. And again, I was just stand there and ground it out. They would come, kind of push my buttons a little bit, nothing. And again, I try to kind of pull the one, go home. It's like, no.
Turn them on. They would test you to see that you could handle it. And then once they could see you could handle it, they get more turned on. And then they want to go bring it up. Yes,
exactly. Yeah. And again, it was a birthday for one of them. So like and she was clear, I'm not leaving my friend. So until the end of the night. So I was there the whole night. And when the club closed at like 6 a.m, we leave. And then something interesting started happening. The 2 girls actually convinced the 3rd girl to come with us. So, because she wasn't having any of it. She's like, no, come along. I go to breakfast. The line is huge. And then again, I started having all these other crazy instances with them. This was the time where I'm in love with the Coco song was popular. And that's all they were fucking singing there. Just screaming in the whole damn restaurant, just kind of doing that. And I forgot to mention that, again, I'd been fired. So I was broke through the whole trip. I had no money. And I think that was one of the lessons I got. It's just like, you can be broke and still have these amazing experiences because, again, we tend to think like you need money and so forth. Like I did not spend a single fucking dime on them that night. They bought me breakfast that time. I was getting free drinks that time and all so on and so forth. Like finally 7 a.m., they were like, where do you live? I was like, yeah, it's right here. Let's go. And we went. And that's how I ended up like, having 3 girls come back with me, having sex with 3 girls, halfway through my week-long Bucharest trip. And
you
really
broke
just having. So you took. When did I break up?
Well, you said when you started saying having sex with, and then we broke up. So.
Yeah. So taking them back to the not the condo.
Basically, you had a foursome.
Airbnb.
You had a foursome with 3 girls.
Yeah, so for some with 3 girls, it was a brunette, a redhead, and a blonde. So it was like, right? It's like Chris Tucker talking about how it's like going to that place and it's like, God damn, it's like a whole buffet here. But
think about it. You were gonna go home at 2 because you decided, no, I'm always quitting. I don't want to be yelled at, so I'm not gonna quit. You ended up staying till 6. You didn't pay for any drinks. They bought you breakfast. They went back to your place, and you had sex with 3 girls at once who were singing "I'm in Love with a Coco" all night.
Yep.
Okay.
That's pretty much the story. Yeah.
Is there anything else?
And again, and I always think that this habit of mine, the tendency to always kind of quit. I almost didn't go to that trip because I was worried about money. So I would have cheated myself out of that experience. Like there's always those little places, like how many times did I just surrender and just go for it and not worry about the rest of it? And like I mentioned again, I was broke that whole fucking trip. And I remember when I was flying back home to Italy, through Italy, just I had $2,000 show up randomly because I spoken to a client when I got fired. He said he'll think about it, and I guess because I was there not checking my email, he thought I was ignoring him. So he paid me for the job before I even started. So now I'm sitting in Italy and I was fucking hungry, and boom, 2 grand shows up in my PayPal account. I'm like, fuck, like, like how amazing can life be if you just let it show up, and just not stop yourself. So I think for me, that reality changed a lot of it because again, from that Bucharest is when my complete reality changed out of it. I came out of that and even talking to Dave and kind of renegotiating my programs. That's how I started working for you guys. We started working on a way like, how do I pay for my programs that work for you? And that relationship has grown so much more. And I've gone to get other clients as well. And I do remember, yeah, that's really when my whole world really just fucking changed around and just realizing that I'm not gonna fucking fall down and I'll be able to get back up because I always had this thing of like, what if I fall and I can't get back up? Just this fear that can be so crippling. And now it's fun, I hear you guys talking about sales and same thing. I'm doing that stuff. It's just, okay, just take the no, don't take it personal. So, and I think just that, yeah, that experience with just the dating world really actually helped me kind of go on and not worry about just having like an employer, but really just having multiple clients and building my business. And, I haven't told you this, but one client I've gone from like, $500 a month to $5,000 a month retainer.
Wow.
So, and it's just always kind of like stepping into that tension over and over and over and over again. And just, if things happen, they happen. I've lost clients, they come back. I've lost clients, but that doesn't show up. But I've also never had an experience where I've run out of money and now money show up somehow. So it's really just having that belief of it. It's just kind of like, I surrender and I'm going to step into this experience and just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah. And life, the more you surrender, have you noticed the easier it's become to make money?
It is, yeah. And yeah, like again, that was the first time I really didn't get that until I went through that experience in Bucharest because there was so many things. I mean, in addition to those 3 girls, I started seeing another girl, Andrea, because I was there for about 2 weeks. I started seeing another girl there and I think I remember telling you the story when we were walking upstairs. I was behind her having a date. And I was just like, I love just how your ass is moving. And she stops and looks at me again, just kind of like this very penetrating look to see if I'm fucking around or not. And she's like, oh, like, what do you want to do? And I said, I just want to bend you over this road and just really fuck you right now. I said, that's nice. And she just kind of moves on. And I think it's just really me realizing like, fuck, like, why wasn't I doing this before? So, and it's really just kind of kept confirming if you really just come from a place of caring and giving and not trying to hide it, your sexuality, women will respond,
Beautifully.
Because yeah, and again, everything that I've done so far after that, I've never really had the fear of like, okay, a woman's gonna scream in my face because I'm approaching her or anything like that. It's just, I think once you get past that fear and just come from a place that you're fucking enjoying her, they actually respond presently very well. That you think they enjoy it, the more you enjoy yourself.
They're responding to your vibration, not what you say. They're responding to your being, your vibration, how you feel. That's 99% of who they're responding to. So when they say a guy's creepy and guys shouldn't approach girls, it's because they had a guy whose vibration was creepy and weird and trying to take, and then another guy comes up and approaches them, and they're like, "Oh, I love it when guys approach me." 10 minutes later, it's like it's this weird thing, and part of it is learning to understand that life is people really respond to energy more than logic. They respond to feeling.
Yeah.
So that's great stuff, man. I love that story. We haven't told it in a while. It's a powerful story, and I definitely want to open it up. I'm sure these guys have a lot of questions. I wanted to look at, I wrote a couple notes here. One of the things I want to acknowledge you for is that you moved here from New York, dude. And every client that does that, they move here from New York to change their life and start coming in and getting involved as much as possible. Those are the guys that really change their reality massively. I mean, Josh did that, you did that, James did that, which is who we nicknamed Brexit, the English guy that used to hang out with. And there's a bunch more. And how much their lives shift when they it's not even moving here, it's getting in the energy. What they're doing is it's not about moving here, it's moving where the energy is, so I can get in the right soil to become who I want to be. And what
Yeah. Yeah, well, I had no intention of moving here. I think it's like because I met James at the first experience I had in DC, um, and he was already here way before me because I think he was already working in a couple of programs with you before me. And yeah, when he told me like, listen, just move here, and I left my apartment because yeah, I was kind of moving back and forth between New York and Dominican Republic. So I left all my shit back in DR, and I never went back to get it. So my landlord sold all my shit because I stopped paying rent on it, and I just stayed here. So I was like, I'm not going back. And that's actually the last time I ever went back there because part of me that the reason why I was traveling was to kind of work on this thing with women. And I think when I came here and I did, like you said, just being around the energy and kind of working that through it, I was like, I really don't need to travel anymore to really
Yeah.
try to co-become better with women. Um, yeah, it's been 4 years in LA, and a little bit after that trip in Bucharest, I met Maral, and we've been together now almost 4 years. So, and even that has been kind of its own process, just really kind of building that up and kind of getting to know her and working through all the kinks. So, yeah, just like again going back to like just surrender to life, surrender to the moment, and yeah, because isn't just like let life surprise you.
We all love Morale. She's amazing, and you guys are great together. Um, Let me double check my notes here. One of the things I wanted to say, because you made a comment earlier that, I had made a comment to you that you have all this talent, but you don't follow through on it. You just kind of sit on it, right? And I wanted to say that if you look at that at a deeper level, what is that really about? You have this ability, talent equals this ability to create value in the world, to really create massive value. And part of our goal in life is to go out and give our gifts away and create value so it cycles back to us. So by talent, I mean you have all this value. You have this ability to create value in people's lives, and what you would do is hold it inside and not let it out. And that's why you were having trouble surviving, because you wouldn't give your talent away. It's not that you wouldn't give it away. You wouldn't even try. You were just like, nope, I'm not gonna create any value. I'm not gonna go out and create value in people's lives, because what if my value isn't what they need? What if it doesn't work? What if they
Exactly. Yeah.
you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, and even at some point when it came to business, I had always wanted to kind of go get my own thing started, and that's exactly what would stop me. And I just saw women, but it was in my life, so really, I never wanted to just kind of be working for one person, but I would just stick with that one person because I was afraid to kind of go give that value. Because like, what if I'm not good enough? What if I can't get the results? What if I can't do this? What if I can do that? But all these what ifs, and then at the end of the day, I don't take any action moving forward. Rather than just kind of go off of the gifts and the value that I can offer. So again, yeah, so just really big lessons. I didn't take it personal. I think it was just kind of snapping me out of it. Again, like you weren't taking my bullshit and my stories. You're just kind of like, I'm not falling for your stories, So, and again, cause yeah, if you hadn't said that to me, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to Bucharest after that, because you just wouldn't accept any stories that I bring to you and kind of like, join my pity party. You'd always be like, no, just do something
well,
with that.
I'll say it in a different way. If you're used to being broke and you've been broke most of your life, you don't have a lot of money, and then now you're waiting to have money to have a life. But then you say to yourself, I'm going to wait till I have money to have a life. But you haven't had money for how long? Or when you get it, you lose it really fast. Then maybe waiting for the money to get a life is part of the problem. Maybe you need to learn to get a life and the money will show up. Maybe you need to learn to get purpose and the money will show up. Maybe you need to learn to do stuff that's going to get you intention, that's going to cause a reaction. The physical world is going to start producing money for you. So that means getting out and getting a life. And people are doing it the opposite way. I'm going to stay small and I'm going to create minimal value and stay in my safe zone. And when the money comes in, I'll go get a life. But the problem is if your life is this big, you can only have money that equals this big.
This big, yeah.
Yeah, that something has to change first before the money shows up. You have to become the man that's worth a lot of money before the money comes in. You have to be the guy that steps into tension, takes action, and before a reaction starts to happen in the world and gives back to you. And
exactly, yeah.
That's what people don't do. But you started to do that, and that's what we really teach people that in the work we do. So great work. Okay, well, I want to get to, is there anything else you wanted to cover? By the way, that last 1,000, I've heard a lot of people say that over the years, they're big life. Even in my personal life, I've had a few moments where I was down on my last few dollars and then everything changed. because I wouldn't take no for an answer. I'd reach these moments where it's not with everything. I don't go spend a ton of money on everything. I spend the money and I'm willing to take risk in the areas that are my burning desire, my God-given desire, my purpose that are driving me in a greater gift and giving the energy away. I remember one time I was creating a workshop around dating and I didn't have any money. I'd sold my company, ran out of money, and I decided to start another company. And I got down to about $300. Rent was almost due. Didn't have the money for rent. Rent was about $1,500 at this little apartment hole I was in many years ago. And so I created this little program and I sold it and I had people in it. And before that, and I got down to about $300. And I said, well, you know, I'm going to give the program this weekend. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm not going to give a fuck if I make any money on it or not. I'm just going to create as much value as possible. I have an upsell, and the upsell will make me some money, maybe enough to survive. And if it doesn't, and I can't pay rent, I'll just renegotiate. I'll figure it out. But I'm going to keep doing what I'm built here to do, and I'm not going to stop. And that was my attitude. And it was really impacted because that was the weekend my nephew, who was 19 years old, died of drugs. And when I saw how here I am worrying about stuff like money and having enough to pay the rent and there's and you know and you could pass away tomorrow, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just go live life to the fullest. So I went and did this workshop and I just worked my ass off to make it a really good workshop for the guys. And that's when I had contemplated what I called the 3-month program, and I didn't have it yet. And so I had which we don't have anymore. But I came up with the 3-month program, but I also came up with an intermediary program. So I had the first program, which they were doing. I had another program that was still going to sell for a small amount of money, and it was going to lead to the 3-month program, which was going to be a more amount of money. And I sat there in the program and I taught the first one, and I was getting ready to do sales on the upsell and to tell everybody about the upsell. And I started telling about the next program, which would make me a little bit of money. And then one guy raises his hand in the middle and goes, and I'll never forget this. He goes, Brian, this is really good, but I'm not really interested in this. Somebody at lunch said you have this 3-month program and I'm interested in that. Tell me about that. And so I was like,
Yeah.
that's out of nowhere. Who told you that? Like somebody randomly talked about this program that I was creating that I put on in a test. I put it on once in a test with for friends, and one of them had said something. I was like, okay. And so I had to make up. I had to not really make up, but I had to I had never given a pitch for it before. So I was like, okay, what do I say about it right now? It's like, so I just opened my heart and let everything out. This is what it is. This is what I'm doing with it. This is why I'm doing it. And boom, boom, boom. I think there were 9 people in the room and 7 people bought it. I think
Wow.
and I think I was selling it for like 5,000, 5,500. And so, you know, and then I think about, I can't remember what percentage came in that weekend in cash. And I just sat there. I had $300 before the end of that weekend. That day I sold and I had over 20 some thousand sitting in my bank account. And I sat there and I looked at it and I was like, and it came after me. When I created so much value, they were feeling so much value. They wanted more out of me than I was offering. And they asked me for it.
Nice.
And so it's just another example of this. It's pretty powerful. Awesome. Do you have anything else you want to say here about this journey of yours?
I mean, let's see what the questions are. Maybe some more stuff will come up from the
Let's dive
questions.
in. Now we want to do. I want to kind of stick to. Think about it. I just did it. It changed my entire life. So I love that. Here, Anish said, "Guys, I've done nearly all of their workshops. Didn't think about it. I just did it. It's changed my entire life, and I have a lifelong tools. Love you, Anish, dude. You're fucking awesome. Thank you for putting that up there. That was a really nice little compliment. So let's look at the questions. And some of these questions came in early, which is what I typically start with. But what I want to do is I want to focus on questions for Cairo first. So I'm going to come back to those a little bit later. Let's see here. It's 11:16. I'm going to go backwards and I'm going to go to the front. So we'll start at the back. I'll jump around a little bit. So I hope you guys can read this. It will help me a lot. You know, I am from Iraq. I really want to try your program in person. For me, thinking about that, I have money problems, and how can I convince my parents and the way to get a visa and a lot of things. Need your guidance. So he wants to take the program. He needs the money. He has to convince his parents. I'm not sure what that's about, what his age is. And he lives in Iraq. What would you say to somebody like that?
So a while back, actually, it's a program I wanted to take. It was 50 grand. And I was just fresh out of college. I had no money. So
And
I
you're
had to
not
borrow.
from the States, you're from Kenya too, by the way.
Yeah, so I was born in Kenya and
So
first
you
12
guys
years of
from
my life.
Iraq, you're born in Kenya. Okay, keep going.
So yeah, there was a program I wanted to take. It was a coaching program. Like this was back in like 2005, I believe. So a while back. And there's no way I had that kind of money. I was fresh out of college and so forth. But yeah, the only place I can get that money from my mom and dad. And it took me about a week to try to come up with a way to kind of just tell them about that. But I did it, and just all I did was just tell them why I wanted to do it. And I think if you have a big enough why, and you have to get them enrolled into like why you're doing this, they didn't really care about the program I was doing because they just have a tendency of not trusting anybody just because of how we grew up in Kenya. But because I believed so much in the program and I believed so much in myself, they invested in me. So I would just really ask you to just have a conversation with them and just really enroll them in like, why do you want to do this? Because if you try to tell them that it's no, it's this program, this, or the description we give on the website, they might not care about that. They're going to care about what benefits do you want to do it? Where do you see your life going if you do this program? Because I also know another student, what's his name? Nicholas, right? I believe, kind of had a similar story. I remember him telling me like, yeah, I just told him like, this is how this is going to help me in my life moving forward. And I think that's where you have to come from and just really share from your own heart. This is how this is going to benefit me. I think that's what I would say.
Nicholas wanted to get married, and now he's married. So that's awesome, and that's a great answer. And by law of polarity, there has to be a solution to this problem. You can't have a burning desire, something that's inside of you, without a way to achieve it. But you might not see the whole picture right away. So you need to take the step that's in front of you. If that's talking to your parents, try that first and see if another door opens and another door will open. Maybe doing some of the online programs, because we're just now starting to get into doing more online stuff. We were testing it yesterday. We had a great experience yesterday. So you're going to see some online programs coming down the road too. And that'll be an easier gateway to start with too, for a lot of people. But if you want to do a live program and you're dedicated, there is a way to do it. And that's the most powerful program for the live programs. Okay, Russell writes, hi, Cairo, can you talk more on letting go of stories and negative past experiences about being a visible minority? I have a very apathetic friend group who always think their skin color is holding them back from business and relationships they want. How can I help them get out of apathy, grief surrounding this?
I mean, that's a loaded question. I still deal with that stuff, but it's not as charged as it used to be before because I've done so much work on it. And even now, I still have to be very mindful of that. So, what I've done to really kind of like be able to really start chipping away at the stories, and before Brian started teaching me releasing, I've kind of combined that now with something else I learned before that. It's called the what is it called? The conscious process. It's this whole idea that the most powerful resource you have is your attention. And if you really think about it, with everything that Brian teaches, attention, when you're releasing, you're really trying to make sure that you can bring attention to like one specific thing. So what I used to do is a journal, and this I used to do a lot heavy. I don't do that much anymore, but I would just write a question: who do I need to be? Who do I need to be so that all stories, beliefs around women and sex disappear? And I would just write down whatever came to mind, and then I would go back and look at those stories. And always, when I'd find this skin color would be there, I would release on it. But then I'd just go back and look like who are the women that I've dated that are not didn't care that I was black? You know, I had this one girl one time. She was half, you know, she was mixed, and she loved dark skin. Like she would hear about these stories of like people who are bleaching their skin. She's like, I don't get it. Like I love that dark skin, and you could just see how much she's like, I wish I had that dark skin, and that's all she thought about. So she just had appreciation for it. So when I go back into that story, that's who I remember. And you could see in her face how much she just loved that. Like she just wanted to have it. So always, and that's why you want to have a wins journal. is your mind is not always good to remembering stories. So a wins journal is always the way that I try to find those little stories to kind of stop myself from that. Another thing I would say is really, is it really supporting him to be in those groups anymore? I'll tell you for a fact. I've had two Black mentors in my life. That was my dad and Dr. Cameron in college. After that, it's all been white men, and they do fucking care about me. So I would say go find those experiences. Right now, I just run into a group of older white men. They're all like in their 70s and have so much value, and they're giving so freely. But if I keep thinking everybody's trying to fucking hold me back, and I'm not saying nobody's trying to hold you back, there's always going to be people who don't. But why focus on that? Focus on what you can control. There are men and other people and women who want to give you the value because they want to see you win. And I would say go find those people. Don't focus on these other people. And I had to stop following actually Black people who were doing very well because they just have this negative attitude of like, just, white people, this, that. I get it. Things have happened. But focus on the ones who don't go down that road. Why get caught up in that? Because every time I go down that direction, it's a heavy feeling. It's anger and it's kind of anger that isn't proactive in a way that I can do anything with it other than me wanting to commit violence against somebody else. So, and I don't want to go that direction. It doesn't feel good. So why would I go there anymore? And I don't want to go there anymore. So the more I got in touch with my feelings and just like what feels good, it doesn't feel good when I accept those stories. So I just find ways to, okay, shit happens. I accept it, let it go, but let me go find people who actually give a fuck about how I'm showing up in my life. They call me out. The way Brian called me out, I was like, you're full of shit, step up. Those are the kind of men that I look forward to actually making sure that they're calling me out of my bullshit when I'm hiding away. I'm like, dude, you're fucking hiding out.
Love the answer. And it's a very important answer because anybody on this planet, even the most privileged person, can find a reason that something in their life sucks, and then they can focus on it, expand it until it seems like it's their whole world. And they'll swear that's reality after that, because what you focus on expands and then draws it to you, like law of attraction, reticular activating system of the brain, whatever you want to call it. It's every reality is out there. If you want to look for racism, it's out there. If you want to look for a world without racism, it's out there. And depending on what vibration you're running at, you'll run into people. The bulk of everybody you meet all day will have nothing to do with racism, and they'll be out supporting you because that's what you believe, because that's what your nervous system will be vibrational match to those people. If I want to go out and find people that hate white people and I focus on it all day long, do Google searches on it, watch YouTube videos about people that hate white people, I'll swear that there's a whole movement of people that hate white people right now. I'll be able to prove it. And I'll be like, look at this statistic and look at this video. And I'll sit there and pretty soon I'll be running around. I'll never get ahead because the white man's finally going down. We're finally taking them out, and I can buy into that stupid reality. So there's all these potential stupid realities. I can say, oh, men are repressing women. And if I search hard enough, I'll find more than enough websites. And vice versa. I can say women are now repressing men. So whatever you search for, you will expand because all these realities exist. And that's what you got to realize. And that's what he's getting out of. So one of the things I've done is, you said, don't go down the road of people that think like that. And I've actually, one of the things I really admire is when I run into men, and as far as Black men goes, that don't buy into that reality, like Morgan Freeman says, racism doesn't exist. Why are we talking about this? That's his attitude. It's like, if we stop talking about racism, it'll go away. And he just has this confidence about him. You're like, dude, he's so powerful, and then what's his name, Lil Wayne. I don't like his rapping, but I love watching him in interviews. And somebody asked him if he believed in racism, and he's like I've never experienced racism. I don't know, I can't talk about that. And they're like, what do you mean? He goes, I just never experienced it. I have nothing to say. And then the guy's like goading him and coming at him. There's a great interview of this, and he said, look, man, he says, I'm worth millions of dollars. I have my own skate park in my house. I have an amazing wife, 2 amazing children. I'm blessed. He literally said, I'm blessed. I have everything I want. When I go out on stage to rap, there's just as many or more white faces as there are Black faces. He says, I don't experience racism. That's my life. He said, if you want to experience racism, go experience racism. That's his attitude. It's a different attitude, isn't it?
Yeah,
And
that's exactly like I was saying when I was in Bucharest. I could have focused on the cops who kept stopping me, or these other people who were like amazed to see a black person. It's like there are people who are looking at me like I'm exotic and just literally happy as fuck to see me,
yeah,
you know. And I chose to focus on that, or I could have chosen to just get caught up. I'm like, why this fucking cop stopping me, you know?
yeah,
Um, but when I stopped caring about that and just really kind of getting fascinated, like, why are these guys just like so fascinated with me here? I'll tell you, um, again, there was that girl or guy that would be like looking at me like I have a disease, but then no, like these other people are fucking enjoying me being around, so I'm gonna hang out with them.
there you go. And that's the way it works, man. And I'm not saying that there is no racism. I'm saying that the less you vibrate at the level of it, the less you see it.
Yeah.
And we live in a different world. And you'll draw the perfect, and trust me, you can draw the perfect business partners to you, the perfect clients. It doesn't matter what skin color, sex, or anything you are. Okay, let's keep going with this. Luke, it really sounds like your persistence was the main driver for your success with women. Do you feel like it was the letting go process that allowed this? Specifically, uh, talking about the issues with your relationship with fear.
Um, Persistence and consistency was part of it. Again, like I said, one of the big things was like I was in a container, right? I moved to LA and I was here. I wasn't in Dominican Republic working on this on my own. Second thing was getting Mike and James to hold me accountable. Like we started going out every night together. So that was me making sure I'm not hiding out anymore. I'm not making excuses why I can't go out anymore. So James would literally come pick me up in Santa Monica and I would go to the bungalow or would go hang out with Mike in Hollywood. So it was just a combination of things. And I think, again, it's just make sure I didn't miss any days because I noticed that if I missed a day or two, my momentum would just kind of go to shit. So, and I started noticing that by day 10, I was picking up a really good momentum where I wasn't letting that fear stop me anymore. So persistence definitely. And I think also the releasing was really for me to really just kind of get more in touch with my emotions. At that time, I was really heavy in my throat area. Like it would be just so jammed up in my throat. And right above my gut. So, and back in the day, Dave had this exercise where you put straws in, just kind of let all the muck come out. So it was a combination of stuff. I think it was releasing, journaling, just to kind of clear up all the stories. That conscious process that I told you about, I did that every day. I have like a whole notebook of, it was about 90 days. I did it every day for an hour. And I would just go back and release on them. Or I would do what Brian does, look down that sheet of ACT flap and try to pinpoint the emotions that are most charged. And that's what I would work on for that day so that I could really just start feeling slowly. The more I would do it, the more I would just start feeling and just kind of getting out of the way. But the releasing was just kind of help me feel better about myself, feel good, get back into that energy. So I wasn't just going out all the time in apathy and, loneliness and sadness. So it was really more about me feeling good. It wasn't every day. So there are days I'd feel good, the days I just couldn't get out of it, but I'd still go do the exercise and find the win for that day. So at least I come back home and feel good when I'm going to bed, when I read my wins.
That's awesome, man. And that's the 1% rule. You're activating the 1% rule right there. 1% change a day, and pretty soon you have a huge quantum leap. So keep it up. Let's jump to this other question. I'm going to jump up and then start working my way back. You talked about being in apathy a lot. How have you worked with that apart from the approaching and fearless workshops you just mentioned? I've just realized how much, so he wants to know how you worked with that apart from the fearless workshops and approaching. I just realized how much my life I've spent in apathy and are looking for more insights on this state. Did you watch yesterday's webinar with Anthony too? That's all about apathy. The whole thing was. So go rewatch that on the Facebook page. And but go ahead.
Yeah, Anthony was a really good one about apathy. For me, the way I deal with that, it still comes up. Like I mentioned, it still comes up when I'm releasing in the morning, and that's why I have different tools that I kind of go into it. So there are days where I'm just able to sit down and be able to release, but there are days where I realize like I'm fighting it, and that's when I know the apathy is there. It's not always the front end, but it's kind of like hiding behind some sadness and loneliness, and that's why I journal first, right? I'll just dump. I would just get my mind cleared. I would just dump on pages, and then I'll just notice the apathy coming. And half the time I'll pass out because the apathy is so fucking heavy, and I have to just take a nap to let it pass off. But I don't just ignore it. When I wake up, I sit there, and then by that time I'm able to just really sit there. And if I need to cry and just look at it and just kind of point where in my body I'm feeling it. Again, like I've said, I've been able to really kind of start working in my lower body, where the confusion is going on. And that's where I release from. But I'm still working through it. I just sit there. But now I try to pinpoint exactly, is it the energy of like, why even try? Is it, why bother? So I'm trying to really pinpoint and find out exactly like, what is it that's going on with me in the back of my head that I'm trying to resist kind of moving into things. And now I'm noticing it's me changing my business at the moment that's causing a lot of this turmoil. That I'm fighting this resistance is coming up, and it's pulling me back into apathy. Like, why the fuck do you want to do this? And it takes me back to my childhood, where I grew up in a system where, again, failing means you are getting your ass whooped. My math teachers and science teachers, every exam, if you didn't get 100, that was an ass whooping waiting for you to happen. So, and it always triggers me back to that. I just have to remind myself, I'm not that kid anymore. Just love him. At the same time, just step into this tension of what is my business growing is bringing up for me, and not try to run from apathy. So it's really just sit in it, and it feels like shit. I'll tell you, it doesn't feel good. It feels like shit, and that means me not running to watch TV. It means me not getting triggered into porn or all that stuff. It means me just either take a walk and just sit there with your feelings until it gives you that moment of release, whether it's a little bit of it. And the more you do it, you will feel it releasing, because I've done it so long that I can always feel that little tiny part of it just release a little bit. I'm like, okay, that was good. That gave me a little bit of energy to go back and do my work. But when I don't, I'll tell you, I'll be taken out for the whole afternoon and I can't fucking do anything because I'm trying to run away from my apathy.
Yeah, and then you go do work, you screw it up, you got to do it over and do more work. And it's like one thing can take a whole afternoon that should have taken 10 minutes because you weren't present when you did it and you fucked everything up. And
exactly.
so, yeah, I know that one. Okay, here's an easy one. Daniel, the best case scenario, how quickly can you tell a girl literally that you want to fuck her after you meet her?
I think you do it anytime. I've tried both ways. It's failed both ways, and it's also worked both ways. I've been called a psycho, So I can't tell you how fast you can do it. I only know how fast I've done it. It's happened in both scenarios. And like Brian said, I think you just have to be in the right vibration just to feel it too.
I've seen and done all. Anything's possible.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it, but again, James would do this shit. He started getting into this stuff. Was like just like girls in yoga pants in Westwood, and I would watch him doing it, and it was the same thing. Sometimes it would backfire, but when he was feeling good, like they would look at him and smile. I'm like, thank you, And when I started doing it, yeah, in the beginning, it would be like, you fucking psycho, get away from me. But then there are times like, again, it's sometimes like when I feel it worked for me, like she'd sit there and look at me with this stare and quiet for like 20 seconds. And I think she'd just wait to see what I was going to do. And the more you just sit there and enjoy and not try to hide your turn on, and be like, oh, thank you, and then just kind of walk up with a nice smile.
There you go.
So I think it's really, just do it. Just do it and try to kind of see where you are in your body, and you'll start kind of seeing how fast you can do it. Because I can't tell you that unless you're out here and then you're doing it. If you're trying to think about it in your head, nobody knows that. You just have to get into action around it.
Yeah, the key is you got to be as relaxed as possible, and you're gonna get tested most likely. So just be ready for the test, and or she's not gonna like it. And sometimes it's not a test. Sometimes she doesn't like it. So you got to be okay with that if you're going to do it too. High risk maneuvers have badass results, but can also have big failures. So high risk maneuvers go down or up. Usually they don't usually stay in the center. So, so here's another interesting one. Are you still releasing if you fall asleep? Are you still releasing if you, where to go? If you're still releasing if you fall asleep during releasing apathy. So you're still releasing if you fall asleep during apathy while releasing on apathy. It's a weirdly worded question.
I mean, I guess when I'm taking a nap, I'm not releasing, but when I get up, since I know that I was in the process of releasing and I guess just passed out, I'll just go back right into it again.
You
You
never
know, to
released,
see, huh?
never released in your dreams.
I do when I'm dreaming, but I guess the way I heard the question was like when I'm sleeping in that moment, am I still releasing? So
I've literally had dreams where I was literally doing the releasing process in my dreams. So I mean,
I've
just
had that, yeah. Just what I'm talking about, like in certain moments when I'm trying to kind of when it's so heavy, I'll just kind of like knock out. I don't remember the dreams after that point, you know, just because of how heavy it is. But I guess it is releasing because when I wake up, it is lighter, right? So, so to your question is right. Yeah, I am releasing when I'm sleeping because when I wake up out of that nap, I feel so much more lighter. But I just don't abandon that process. I kind of go back into it again. I just kind of check in with myself and where in my body am I feeling it now, and how murky or heavy is it?
okay, awesome. These are great, great answers. Great questions, by the way. Um, More about, okay. Hey, Cairo, can you talk more on letting go of stories and negative past experiences about being oh, we already talked about that one. Yeah. Okay, we talked about that one. Let's go down and check this one out. I'm trying to stick with ones from Cairo for the most part, guys. Okay. Okay, Cairo, how much time did it take for you to get going with the releasing? What would you recommend starting with releasing to get going with it?
I think the mistake, so the few guys that I do talk to from Fearless, I think the mistake that they make is you do a release one day or 2 days and then you abandon the process. Um, I've created a system where I'm working like so far, I've been releasing for kind of like this groin area, belly area for the last 6 weeks now. So for me, I just create, I'm not doing it for one day and abandoning it, right? Just come up with a system where pick one area that you want to work on and just keep releasing on it because let the momentum build up. So you can really just kind of keep dumping all that stuff out. So I would say start with the video that Brian did the other day by looking at the questions and kind of trying to pinpoint stuff. And also, I think Jonathan posted the scale of ACFAB, right, where you can go through all those emotions and just find the ones that are creating the charge for you. Because in the beginning, when I started doing this, I had no idea what I was feeling. It was either just I don't fucking like this or what it is. But now I can get to the point where I can tell there's something going on with my left shoulder or the back of my neck, or there's something going on the back of my knee. There's something going on, you know, with my left hip, and just kind of be able to pinpoint that directly. And but having that list the way Brian taught me was much better because I can really find fuck like this is it right here. I'm feeling like what's the point? A lot of the times it's what's the point, and that's what I stick with and just see, you know, after 7 days, just how much lighter does it feel. But don't just do it one day or 2 days and then wonder like, why am I not releasing? I think that's where most people make mistake. I think you should be looking at least 30 days of releasing into or even 3 months. Just go with the process and let the momentum build up. And like I mentioned, when I started doing this process, I had a panic attack after 8 weeks of doing this. I wasn't feeling it, but it finally showed up in a big way where I was just able to just dump out for a whole night thinking that I'm dying because of a panic attack I had and just feeling all these emotions all at once.
And think of releasing as learning a foreign language. When you first start, you're learning a few phrases to get by, and it helps you get around in a foreign country. But in time, you're learning to speak sentences. Then you're learning to speak more eloquently. You're learning to go deeper. You're learning to create poetry and music, and it becomes a whole world of abilities. Releasing literally grows every day that you do it. It can get better and better and better at it. Huge breakthroughs start to happen.
Yeah.
So,
And like you teach Brian, there's multiple ways of doing it, right? You know, there are days I just go for a walk and I'm fine with a dog. I just take a nice 1 hour walk and release that way. But then there are days that I just, you know, just need to sit down quiet and just kind of let it process through as heavy and shitty as it feels, cries, you know, you need to just curl up and cry. Just let it happen. Don't run away from that process.
I now live in a point where, I'm hitting caps so much. It's like, it's amazing. And when I get sad, on the days I do get sad or apathetic or heavy and stuff comes up, it's like I'm looking at it from cap typically, or I know, well, cap's right over there. So I'll just be sad for a little bit. And because I know cap's going to be right around the corner, the sadness just doesn't last. It just goes. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
let me get back up. again. I've been sad for 5 minutes. I'm done with that. And then bam, you're back to happy again. And that's become amazing. Okay, would like to hear the story from the experience that Brian alluded to at the start of the call. That was the week long. I alluded to the week long story where Cairo ended up with three girls at once and foursome. So that was the story there. So if you missed that, go back and listen to the call again in the replay. So let's head up. You know how if my actions are from need and desire. We don't know that, Irvin. Hi guys, how do I know if my actions are from need or desire or productivity or love? Oh, how do I know? Do you want to answer that? I thought you were asking me like personally, like I know you personally, and I'm giving you a breakdown. And now I get his question.
What was the question again?
How do I know if my actions are from need, desire, need/desire, or from productivity and love?
I guess my question would be, has he taken some of the courses? The system I use is the box from releasing, where you have
Need, avoid, need, should, have to, then want, and then choice, and then being.
Yeah. So yeah, is that the one? Wanting security. Oh my God, where is it? It's in my note.
The core ones. You're talking about something different. Are you talking about core ones, like the one for security, the one for oneness, one for
yeah. That's what I was talking about. So that's the one of them that I use, and then the one that you just, am I having to, choosing to, and so forth. So again, the journal system is what you kind of have to go back to that one. I haven't done that in a long time, but when I met Brian, I was doing that a lot. So it's really, you would just look at what am I doing today and just kind of ask yourself, am I have to, should to, choosing to, and want to. And again, it's just about you being disciplined to really do the work on this one. A lot of these things that we're asking you to do, they're tools that do give you benefit, but you have to do them for a while so you can kind of start seeing where your tendencies and habits tend to be. And the more you do that, you're going to be able to free yourself up from that, because you can start seeing, what are my scripts, or what am I running in the back of my head, habits and behaviors am I running that I'm not even aware about.
Awesome. I'll throw in one extra thing is ask yourself if your actions are trying to get you to somewhere that you're going to that you like in the future in your mind. You're projecting way out in the future and you're trying to get there, or are your actions to grow a feeling that you already have it? The feeling that it's coming to you, or you already have it, one of the two. So you want the feeling that it's coming to you or you already have it, versus the feeling you're trying to go get it. Let's see.
And I was going to add, something that also I worked with you a lot on, Brian, was this idea of pushing, right? I remember you helped me a lot when I was having trouble again, kind of getting my business going. You would be asking me like, okay, when you think about doing this thing, are you feeling pushing, or are you feeling like you can ease into it? And there was a lot of pushing, and that's when you're like, all right, just do this process, think about it, don't do anything, just take a 10-minute release, and then come back and see if you can just choose to do this, and then just see how it goes. So you had me break down steps, and every time I'd hit that I want to push through this, you're like, no, don't push it, just take a break, release a little bit, and then come back and see if you can just really be able to just ease into it without having to have this pushing energy on an action step.
Yeah, Lester Levinson used to say that releasing is all about getting the push out of you so that the world stops pushing back. And then everything just starts happening much easier. Actions become much easier because there's no fight. So that was a great answer. Thank you. I'll do one more, and then I think we're going to close it up for the day. It's a Saturday. I want you guys to enjoy your Saturdays. Let's find one specifically for Cairo. That could be a longer one. Let's see. Is that I think we might go with that one. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to ask that one. So he just asked Cairo. Let me find it again. Hello, everyone. Thanks for this, Mr. Cairo. That's your new name, Mr. Cairo. If you want, I'd like to hear just a bit more about how you were before all of this, and what were the stories you were operating with. Like just a contrast. What were you like before all of this, like just like a short synopsis, like something really short, like compared to now, if you were to do a contrast.
Short synopsis.
Bullet points. Who were you before? Who are you now in comparison? So they can see the contrast.
I'll tell you, just fear was really had me just very crippled, and I just wouldn't take risks at all. So that's one of the things I really realized that playing it safe way too much, to the point where I just kind of disappear in the background. Nobody would even notice me. Um, with women, also just like I was dating women, but also I didn't experience a lot of women because also I wasn't really being sexually forward with them. So I'd go back to a lot of them and be like, well, I didn't know you liked me. This is what the women tell me. I didn't know you liked me because you didn't fucking show it, you know? And that was me being afraid of like showing my sexual turn on. So I had a lot of women who liked me, but because I didn't, show that I liked them back or sexually interested in them, they just kind of went away. And that was me just kind of being shy about showing that. Very, very, very analytical. I am analytical now, but I've embraced the other creative side, which has made me being a marketer much easier. I embrace those two. But before that, yeah, just analytical where it would get in my own way. My intellect would get in my own way because just trying to think shit through and trying to be analytical all the time. What else? What else? What else? Yeah, I didn't really enjoy life that much actually. Before really started learning about all these emotions and getting out of my own way. So I was just working and doing things and just not enjoying life at all because it was always about looking good and being seen looking good, but I was not enjoying life actually. So, but since getting out of my own way and just embracing it and just say fuck it, life has just become a lot more fun now. It's a good question, but I guess I'd have to think more about it to see who I used to be like 5, 6 years ago.
And that's perfect. That's all they really needed. Sometimes a good amount of contrast is a really good teacher, and you can see the difference. So, I mean, if I was to contrast me, maybe I'll put up some of those pictures that are out there floating around with me back in the day at one of these webinars. Jonathan laughs at one of them. Jonathan, you were laughing at the one of me in a bathrobe, right? Like back when I was young. That was that one. But you can really see the contrast of who I was and who I've become, and even over the last few years, I've changed a lot. So, and I always change it. I know that next year I'll be different. The year after that, I'll be different because by nature I grow. I grow every day, and I water and I nurture my soil that I'm in. I make sure it's all really healthy for me and nurtures me, and every day a little better, a little better. And now I really truly live life not from a place of fixing, but a place of constant expansion and growth. Because
Yeah.
when they called me out on being broken and trying to fix myself, that was the biggest story I had to fix. Is I was never really broken. I was just playing the game of being broken, but I was always fine. And now I just grow every day. So
And there is one thing actually that you even said to me the end of last year about being more solution oriented. I think before it was just a lot of like problem and challenges and not seeing a solution out of it. And even with money, I had a lot of debt from school, and because of the pay cut, I fucked up a lot. So, and like over the last 3 years, I mean, I've negotiated $80,000 between the IRS and school loans, where it's not fucking me up anymore because before I met you guys, that was like another huge point of apathy because I was running away from creditors. But when I stepped into the tension, I was surprised just they were willing to work with me. I'm like, what can you do per month? I was like, oh, and even to the point where instead of worrying about 8 years of taxes, they're like, no, we only care about these 4 years right here, which are the years that I made the most money. They're like, we don't care about the other years, so you make shit. So with the money from when you made the most amount of money, so do your taxes, get back to us, and then here's a monthly payment. I'm like, oh, okay. I can do that. And same thing with my debtor. They're like, what can you do per month? And some of them, they let go. They're like, no, just pay this and we'll be good to go.
there you go. And that's exactly what it works. I renegotiated with the IRS many years ago when I had a huge debt and I got down to a really good interest rate, and they were great. They were super easy to deal with. Oh my God. Student loans, they're super easy to deal with. The only student loan that was difficult to deal with was the one with Wells Fargo. That one's paid off. But yeah, most creditors are, if you just call them and you say you stick to your guns, they'll work with you.
Yeah.
So, okay, guys, this was a great call. Cairo's awesome. He has great stories. He's the guy behind a lot of the stuff you see from us out there when it's enticing you to come look at our website and stuff like that. And you're going to be seeing him. I think he's really hitting by the way, I think you're hitting a big point where you're about to start really growing up a lot bigger, Cairo. I see some big changes coming down the next year for you as far as your growth too. Because I see that point at which you're starting to move out of this. You're starting to really look more and more towards solutions, and I see you starting to really do that, and that's gonna speak. Um,
Thank you.
so with that said, remember guys to if you're watching this, if you're on Facebook, make sure to comment. If you didn't get your questions answered, put the question in the comments. We love it when you guys do that. Like the video. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like the video, subscribe, hit that bell notification, put some comments in, and guys, share with as many people as you can. Let's get more people into this program. The more people we can help, the more everything just comes back and takes care of all of us. So and I love you too, Becky. Or I said it to her first, but she wrote it on the screen, so I have to say it back again. And guys, have a beautiful day, and remember, only the confident really live. Take care.
All right, thanks, guys.
Oh yeah, that's it. Take care, guys.